Welcome, Nerd Boxers, to another episode of the Popcorn Easter Eggs. This is a retro edition that everybody had wanted to see. This is going to be a good one. And this is Dave.
And this is Jen.
Saying happy holidays, happy new year. Thank you for your patience and waiting for this one to be dropped. I know it's been a long time coming, but once Terrifier blew up, we chased that one a little bit and we put this to the side. So, let's dive into it.
In the opening of Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, we reference a few franchises: Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Halloween. We see Taylor recording the introduction for her student film taking place in the town of Glen Echo, where she compares it to Camp Crystal Lake, where a madman named Jason killed countless victims for 3 decades. She then mentions Springwood, where a murderer named Frederick killed his victims in their sleep. It's here where we see Kane Hodder heading inside of the Elm Street house where the movie was filmed.
We then move on to the mention of Haddonfield, where Michael Myers struck in a similar fashion on 4 separate occasions on or near Halloween. We see 3 children standing dressed in costumes watching them film. One is in a witch's costume. The other child appears to be wearing a skeleton costume with a mask on their head. And when the mom comes over to the kids, she's holding a baby that's wearing a pumpkin costume. This would be a reference to the costumes made by Silver Shamrock in Halloween 3. We then return to Taylor, who is standing outside of the Rabbit and Red Lounge. Many of us will know this on the matchbook that Dr. Loomis finds in Halloween 1978. When we are at Leslie's home, we see a tire swinging on its own, just like the one we see in Pet Sematary.
After they wrap their introduction, Taylor asks,
"Did that sound forced? I too much like Diane Sawyer?"
Diane Sawyer is a television broadcast journalist known for anchoring ABC World News Tonight, Good Morning America, 2020, and Primetime News Magazine. They meet Leslie Vernon, who gives them a tour inside his home, and he introduces his pet turtles,
Church and Zoe. They're my little sweeties. Actually, he's not. Don't put your finger anywhere near him.
Church is the cat in Pet Sematary. Zoe is the dog in Pet Sematary 2. On or around Leslie's bookshelf, we have several books which will count as one reference. Each book perfectly details his trade of becoming a slasher. Grey's Anatomy, Instinctive Peak Response, Psychology of Fear, Copperfield's Magic, Houdini Escape Tactics. Leslie mentions having read Houdini's books after displaying a magic trick. As Taylor and Leslie sit down for their interview, Leslie jokes that he can share how, but not the why, that guys like Mike, Freddie, and Chucky do what they do.
I can't just sit here on the first night I ever met you and explain it to you. It's got to come from your own understanding of the process.
The next morning, Leslie leads the crew to a local high school where he explains how he selects his target. He focuses on a girl who he feels a connection with. She walks by 3 girls in white dresses playing jump rope, just like the girls we have seen in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. That night, Leslie introduces the crew to his real target, Kelly Curtis. Kelly Curtis is the sister of Scream Queen Jamie Lee Curtis. This will make more sense in a few minutes. The next morning, we see Taylor and Leslie walking along the road to his house, and eagle-eyed fans may notice the initials on his jacket, FM. We do not know what this means. I've asked Nathan Basil, who plays Leslie Vernon, if he knew what it meant. He didn't, but this is not the only time that we see initials on his jacket. Leslie brings the crew to meet his mentor, Eugene. As they pass Eugene's car, you will see a toolbox in the car. This is a reference to the killer in the toolbox murders. Now, as we learn later on, Eugene is an old school slasher. He's been around, so he actually may be the killer and the toolbox murders. Eugene's wife, Jamie, greets them at the door, and since we met Kelly already, this would be the nod to Jamie Lee Curtis. There are a series of Easter eggs and references in the next few scenes. The first being a cleverly placed Easter egg. While Jamie is prepping food, we see a knife on the cutting board with Leslie's face digitally placed on the blade.
Eugene begins to tell Taylor about killing in the 60s and 70s versus the killings of today.
There's always been hacks out there. People mucking it up. One-hit wonders who make a bloody mess of some sorority somewhere, get killed.
This is a reference to a series of sorority house slasher films that came out in the 80s that we will count as one. The House on Sorority Row, Sorority House Massacre, and The Initiation. Since they were mentioned already, we will not count this next set of references. While outside cooking, Taylor brings up people in the slasher business being hacks, and Eugene says that he's not referencing Jay, Fred, and Mike.
Those boys lifted it to a whole other level. They made an art form of it, turned themselves into legends by returning like a curse over and over again. That was a radical change in philosophy.
The hat Eugene is wearing is from Croyce Market, which is located in Lockhart, Texas. Croyce is known for its barbecue.
Back inside, we see several more Easter eggs.
On an end table next to where Leslie is sitting is the Hellraiser puzzle box. As they prepare to call it a night before Leslie and the crew go to the library, we see a few baby dolls on some shelves, a reference to Francis Ford Coppola's film Dementia 13, where they are an ominous sign of impending death.
Something we see in the screen.
We arrive at the library, where we get another set of Easter eggs and references. We meet the librarian, Mrs. Collinwood, played by Zelda Rubinstein. Mrs. Collinwood is from The Last House on the Left.
Kelly finds a fake article about a relative who may have raped Leslie's mom. She asks Mrs. Collinwood if there's more info on it, and Mrs. Collinwood says it's in the archive. As she leads Kelly back to the microfiche archive, we see a book, The Need to Kill, Inside the Mind of a Serial Killer. Mrs. Collinwood then shares a story of Leslie's death and being tossed over Nellis Falls.
When the crimes were discovered, the incensed townspeople marched upon the farmhouse, dragged the boy from the house, bound his hands, and marched him over the falls to the banks of the Nellis River, where he vanished into the icy waters.
Nellis is the same name of the Air Force base used in The Hills Have Eyes. Leslie then strikes, but is interrupted by Doc Halloran, played by Robert Englund.
Leslie!
No more. It ends here.
Doc, as you may know, is from The Shining. Robert Englund modeled Doc Halloran's character after Dr. Loomis in Halloween. Later we return to Eugene's, where we see a dollhouse in one of the scenes that we cannot identify. If you know what that dollhouse is from, drop it in the comments. At first glance, I thought it was the Bates house, but it isn't. It looks too different. It's a pretty cool dollhouse. The next morning, Taylor decides that she will attempt to get to know Kelly against Leslie's wishes and heads to the diner where she works. Only she is confronted by Doc Halloran, who reveals that Leslie Vernon is actually Leslie Mancuso.
Is Leslie Mancuso from Reno, Nevada. You have no idea who you're dealing with.
The last name Mancuso is for Nick Mancuso of Black Christmas, the voice on the phone.
Hello?
Hey, Mommy. Hey, baby. Baby, all right, Mom.
Hello? Who's there?
I know you're there. Answer me. You answer me in bed.
Mommy?
Come here.
Where's Agnes?
You won't.
What are you doing this?
Not really an Easter egg, but it is something that the director and writer of Behind the Mask has said, that he felt that the killer in the Black Christmas was Eugene. So Eugene is kind of connected to the Toolbox Murders and Black Christmas. And as you heard him in his conversation, if you've seen the film, he went around doing multiple hits back in the day. Leslie confronts Taylor outside, and once again we see a set of initials on his jacket. JCR. Don't know what it is. Nathan doesn't know what it is. If you do, drop it in the comments. The next day, Leslie walks them through the plan and how the house is staged for that night's events. Leslie shows them a closet and explains its significance.
The closet is a sacred place. It's symbolic of the womb.
A nod to Halloween's closet scene.
In one of the rooms, we have a vanity mirror and dresser, which looks nearly identical to the one that Judith Myers sat at in the Halloween movie. Also note the doll on the dresser. Hanging in the basement is a clown doll.
I'm not counting as anything, just thought it was cool.
Later that day, we see Leslie prepping for the final act, where there are several more Easter eggs, mainly homages to director Scott Glosserman's favorite film, The Shining. While Leslie is putting on the fire retardant, inside of the elixir box is a picture of twin girls. The Shining music is playing in the background. Next to the mirror, a bottle of Stay Awake pills is seen, which is from Nightmare on Elm Street.
There are several more pictures around the vanity mirror. Zoomed in on them, I can't really tell what they are, so if you know what they are, drop them in the comments. Also, throughout the film, there's a lot of pictures that are placed here and there that may be tied to something else.
Taylor is holding a brown bunny, which is a reference to a movie that gave us 80s kids nightmares, Watership Down.
Did you ever see that movie?
I never even heard of it.
Oh my god. You don't want to watch it now then either.
Well, now I kind of do.
No, it's about a bunch of bunny rabbits slaughtering each other. And it was on TV in the mornings, and yeah, that movie is nightmare fuel.
For those of you that are younger than us, we won't say how much younger, but younger than us, you'll understand that when we were younger, they didn't wait till a certain time to put things on TV. It didn't matter. There was no, oh, we're going to not put it on till 10 o'clock at night so the kids will be in bed.
Cartoons back then were no joke either.
Well, exactly. That's my point.
I got to see Duke from G.I. Joe get stabbed through his heart and chest with a spear. And then Transformers, that made every young boy cry. It did. There's adults that still cry over that movie now. Just optimists. We see the reflection of blocks in the mirror that spell out Red Rum. Now, before YouTube, I was able to interview Nathan Basil for
Leslie Vernon.
For our social media page that we belong to, and that's the Horror Family. And he's not a fan of horror movies. They kind of creep him out. And we get to see a little bit of that in this scene. After putting on the fire retardant, Leslie begins stretching out his jaw in a similar fashion to the way Donald Sutherland in the remake of The Invasion of the Body Snatchers did. As Leslie's plan unfolds and after the confrontation in the barn, Leslie gets knocked out. We then see him sit up just over Taylor's shoulder like Michael Myers did in Halloween. And for our final Easter egg, in the cider house, our view switches to the first person view of Leslie Vernon, something similar that we've seen in the original Friday the 13th. That's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie, and I'm banking that there's a whole bunch more that are in there that we missed.
Yeah, I think this movie is not an incredibly long movie, so that is a lot of Easter eggs to be in this film, and I would most definitely guarantee that we've missed a lot because a lot of the movie does take place in the dark.
Yes. Scott Glosserman, who wrote and directed this film, he did his thesis on The Shining, so he is a horror fanboy, tried and true, and this is his love letter to the entire horror genre, which if you haven't seen that, it's so surprising how many people have still missed this film. Go and check it out.
We are constantly recommending it to people. And it's amazing that there are that many people that haven't seen it. And he did his college thesis on a horror movie.
Yeah. I hope he got good grades on it.
I hope so. I mean, I don't know what his professor thought of that, you know, especially back then. I don't. But okay. Obviously, it worked out for him.
Now, if you watch this movie and you love it and you want more stuff on it, hey, guess what? We just dropped the interview with Angela Goethals this past week. Go check that out. She talks about this movie. She talks about Home Alone and some other things. Last month, we dropped an interview with Nathan Basil. And then back when we were Women of Horror, we have a whole reunion, including Kane Hodder and a special appearance by Robert Englund. Yes, a little channel and a special appearance by Robert Englund. This is the final video for the entire year. 2022 was an amazing, amazing horror year. It was amazing for our channel as well. We are hoping to get to 2,420 subscribers by mid-January.
Now in April, which is for 20, actually, April 20th, we will hit our 2nd anniversary.
Yes, but the reason I chose 420 is because we were at 420 subscribers mid-January last year. So we just want to nudge it there so that we have a whole full year of 2,000 subscribers that we added. And to help us get there, every 25 likes and comments that this video gets, we'll give away prizes. If we're able to hit the magic number of 100 comments and 100 likes, we'll send out some full-size posters. It won't end.
Movie one-sheet posters.
Yes, it won't end at the 100. Let's keep going. 25 comments, 25 likes. We'll keep giving out prizes. If we get to 200 likes and comments, we'll throw in some extra stuff.
Yes, and then they get what, like a one-sheet plus a couple of smaller things? Or...
Yeah. We'll make it worth their while.
We have a lot of things to give out.
Yes. Now, don't forget, it is the quest for 5,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there by
liking, subscribing, and sharing.
Yes. Along that journey, until February, every video that gets 100 likes, 100 comments, you will win some prizes. It's not just one, it's multiple things. And when we hit 5,000 subscribers, you have a chance to win this box of Strawberries and Scream cereal signed by
Matthew Lillard and David Arquette.
Yes. Scream got us over the 1,000 mark. So, why not? Anyway,
seems fitting.
It does. Anyway, Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2023. And there'll be Pop 5s coming. And then, don't forget, Scream Month is in February. So until the next.
See ya.